The best part of waking up is sea moss in my cup. Peace and love and light. What is going on, good people? So if you clicked on this video, you probably saw my short version of how to make sea moss gel, and you want to see me do it step by step and break it down in detail. So that's what I'm going to be doing today for you. All right, so the first step is to get you some dried sea moss, and we're going to measure out 1 cup of packed dried sea moss. I'd see online sometimes people might use a kitchen scale to do this, and they'll measure it out in ounces, which I guess is probably more accurate and probably better, but I don't have a kitchen scale, so we just gonna have to ride like this, y'all, okay? So 1 cup of packed sea moss, and I'm just gonna push it down here so you see what I'm doing. So I got my 1 cup of packed sea moss, and I'm just gonna put that in my glass bowl, spread it around a bit, and then to that I'm gonna add about 3 or 4 cups of spring water, okay? And then now you're just gonna push it down, press on it, spread it out, break it apart. Do what you gotta do, just make sure that it's submerged underwater. Just because over time the sea moss is gonna absorb all the water and suck up all the water, and it's gonna grow in size. All right, so I'm gonna leave this here to soak for about 8 to 12 hours. So you see how plump and swollen it gets. It just absorbs all of the water, and it gives you a lot. So if you are just starting out and you feel like this is a lot, you could just go ahead and cut all the measurements I gave you in half, just so you won't feel overwhelmed at the end of the process. So next, I'm just going to be rinsing out the moss. I'll push it around in the bowl right now a little bit. I just want you to keep in mind that you might see rocks and shells and things just like this. And that's because the sea moss is wild harvested. Well, at least the one I get is. I get mine from Purple Moss Paradise, and they wild harvest their moss straight from the Caribbean Sea. So it's the real deal, y'all. So don't freak out if you see some shells or rocks or things like that. Just remove them as you go through the rinsing process. So I just got a separate bowl, and I'm putting the moss right into it. I'm going to go ahead and rinse it for about 3 times over. For me, that would usually get the job done, but generally speaking, you want to rinse it until you see that the water you rinsing it in is clear and there isn't any sand or debris or anything like that left in the water. So now I'm going to switch bowls and add some fresh spring water to the moss to rinse it out. I'm putting the newly rinsed moss in the first bowl I had started with. And then after that, I'm going to add more spring water to that and rinse it out 2 more times. So the water I used to rinse with, I'm just throwing that in a bucket next to me. And I'm going to use that in my garden or in the compost, or I might just run myself a nice hot bath and put that in it. You could also use it in foot soaks or hand soaks or hair rinses, just so nothing goes to waste here, you know? This type of moss has amino acids and minerals like iron, manganese, copper, and zinc. It's a good prebiotic for your gut and can act as dietary fiber, which could give relief from constipation. It has molecules that are anti-inflammatory, anticoagulant, and anti-tumor in nature. These molecules can lower blood glucose and cholesterol. They can also be used to moisturize skin and to heal burns. They're big in antimicrobial activity, especially as antivirals. They can block viruses by binding to them and stopping them from attaching to your cells and getting into your cells. So on the last rinse, the water should be pretty clear, just like this, like I had said before. And after the moss is all clean and rinsed out, this here is exactly how it should look. You see that? It looks like fluffy and alive and like it just came out of the sea. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna hop over to my stove. And then I'm gonna boil some distilled water. You could use spring water if you want, but I prefer distilled just because I feel like it pulls all the components and elements out of the plants that I'm also gonna be adding to the pot as well. All right, I just added about 4 cups of distilled water to my pot, and it's boiling up now. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in about 15 buds of clove to that, and I'll let that boil for about 10 minutes or so. All right. So after that, you're gonna lower the fire so that is simmering, and then I'm gonna add in some soursop leaves. So I have about 10 small leaves right here, and I'm just gonna put that in the pot, and I'll let that simmer for another 20 minutes. Alright, so after that, the water should have like a yellowish, brownish kind of tint to it. And I'm gonna just take that and I'm gonna pour it into the bowl with the moss. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna let that steep for another 40 to 50 minutes. All right. I know some of y'all are out there like, Rita, that is mad work. Like, you gotta soak it overnight. You gotta soak it for 8 hours. You gotta steep it for 50 minutes. You gotta do this for 10. You gotta do this for 20. It is work, but would you do it for your health? Would you do it for your health? Would you do it? Would you do it? You would, right? Right? So for the steps with the cloves and the soursop leaves, you don't have to do that. I just like to do that because I was inspired by my herbalist. I had this herbalist, y'all, and he coached me for a little bit, and I took some of his products. That's what I was saying. I got the idea to do that from him. But you don't have to do that. Your sea moss will gel up even if you don't put those two ingredients in there. In that case, you would just boil the distilled water and pour it right in your moss and steep it for your 40 to 50 minutes. But just keep in mind the soursop leaf and cloves will definitely add in some extra nutrients to your gel. And with the cloves, besides the antioxidant and antifungal properties, cloves smell good. So if you're that person that don't like the smell of the sea, you don't like the smell of beach, you're not having it, you're not digging it, you can't take it, you might want to be one of those people who try to put some cloves in your sea moss gel just to mellow out that smell and make it a little bit more subtle. I personally don't think that sea moss have a very strong smell, but I was born and raised in the Caribbean, so I could be a little bit biased. The smell of sea, it just like brings me all the way back home, and it's kind of like comforting to me in a sense. So when I put the clove in my sea moss gel, it's mostly to get that nutritional value that the clove has to provide. I swear this moss be making me act a fool. Okay, so the moss has been steeping in the hot water for about 50 minutes, and the next step is simple. You're just gonna put everything in the blender. So I'm gonna start by putting all of the moss inside the blender, and then after that I'm gonna pour the water in on top of that. Okay. So the reason I do it this way is because you see where the level of the moss is at. You don't want to put much more water over that. So if you're pouring, and you see that the water level is exceeding the moss level, you want to stop pouring and set that water aside, and you could put it in like food or tea or something. Okay. All right. So the reason we can't put too much water inside of the blender jar is because if we do, then the gel won't form right. It's not going to be firm and thick, and it won't be held together. So that's something you don't want to do. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to just pop the lid on like that. And I'll blend this on high speed for 30 seconds. I'll stop, blend it for 30 more seconds, stop, blend it for another 33 times, just so everything is incorporated and even out and smooth. And I'll also vent it a little while I'm blending it, just because we're dealing with some hot liquids, okay? Okay, so it's all done now. So it just looks like a brown liquid now. And now it's just a matter of pouring it out and just storing it in the refrigerator. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. So I like to put it in glass. So this gave me about 3 cups and a little bit. So 3 cups and maybe another cup. So it's looking like about 4 cups. So that's about a whole quart of gel that we're gonna have. So I'll just put these in my refrigerator and I'll let it sit for 2 or 3 hours. And after that, it should be gelled up and good to go. Let me see this Tommy looking all types of crazy. Right now. Right now. Right now. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. I am ready. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you the finished product. This is what it looks like. It looks like brown jello after it's all gelled up and everything. So it's really thick and firm. And if I turn it over like this, it won't fall out in my hand. So if you had put too much water in the blender and you did this and turned it over, it might just plop out on your hand. So that was what we were trying to avoid, And this is good for 3 to 4 weeks in the refrigerator. It could probably go longer, but I like to make it in the beginning of the month and then use it all month. And then the next month, I'll make a new batch, right? So you could add this to soups, stir fries, any kind of food that you have. I know the guy who I get the sea moss from, I think he uses the gel sometimes in place of oil when he makes his food. So that's really cool for people who are trying to avoid oil or omit oil from their diet. So you could try that out. I personally I put in everything, y'all. Like I put in dinner and lunch. In the morning, I'll wake up and I'll dissolve like a spoon of it. So I'll dissolve, like, I'll take a spoon like that and I'll dissolve that in hot water, and then I'll add some key lime, or I might, if I have tamarind. Oh, okay. If you got the tamarind, it's a done deal. But yeah, I really don't need to add stuff in there. I'll just drink it straight, just water and sea moss gel. Listen, I don't need anything big and fancy. That's something y'all have to know about me right now, okay? But yeah, what else? It could be used as a thickening agent. So a lot of people like to use it for this reason. They'll put it in smoothies or sauces to make it more thick and like have like a nice smooth consistency to it. And then in baking, you could use it as an egg replacer. So it'll help to hold things together. It'll act like as an emulsifier or a stabilizer. So if you got some vegan cookies you want to make, or you got some vegan cake, sea moss gel got you. All right. It has these molecules in there that look just like these molecules in our bodies called glycosaminoglycans. And the glycosaminoglycans are in the matrix, and the matrix is basically the substance around the cells in our bodies. So in the matrix, we have like sugars and proteins, and those help to keep the cell held in place, and it helps to structure the cell. It kind of acts like a scaffold, to hold a cell together, if that makes sense. And there's also stuff in the matrix that work in like cell communication. So if the cell wanted to pick up a signal from another cell or pick up a signal from the environment, then it will do that through the matrix. Yeah, so what was I saying? The glycosaminoglycans in the matrix also play a big role in recruiting collagen, which is also in the matrix. So these molecules will come in and they'll stimulate the production of collagen, and also they'll help to hold the structure and the integrity of the collagen. This is why many times you'd hear people refer to sea moss as vegan collagen, and where I don't think that's 100% technically correct. I think it would be more right to say sea moss has vegan glycosaminoglycans. But that don't really have a ring to it. I get it. Like vegan collagen sounds better. But yeah, the CMOS, it could increase the glycosaminoglycans content, and then it could also mimic the function of those molecules. And in doing that, that will help to increase the collagen production. So it's not so much that the CMOS has a molecule or a protein in it that looks like collagen. It's more that it can help your body to create its own natural collagen. Yo, for the one still riding with me, I appreciate you. Thank you so, 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 so much. You know what I always say, eating healthy is simply an act of self love. And if you ain't doing it right, you ain't doing it right. The best part of waking up is sea moss in my cup. Oh, I need a cup.
Oh my god. Let me see.
So I had this herbalist, y'all, and I took his coaching services and his, oh, wow, yo, the heat really gonna boot up right now, son. When I'm in my thing, bruh. Heat is off, and here we go. Take 100, okay? Oh, what was I saying? Uh, Tastes good. You probably saw my short version of how to make sea moss gel, and you want to see me break it down and do it step by step and in detail. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. All right, so the first step is to get you some dried